Are you curious about bodies, pleasure, and possibilities? And what about curious about what others are up to on the planet when it comes to pleasure, sex, and play? Have you considered what pleasure can do for your life, your body, and your bank account? Do you know something magical, delightful, and out-of-this-world orgasmic is not only possible for you, but totally available to you? If you're ready to be the magical, sexual, sexy beast you know you can be, and you just need the tools to get there, you're in the right place. Now, here's the host of The Pleasure Zone, sensual movement artist, relationship and sex alchemist, Milica Jelenic.
Hello, sweet pleasure seekers. Welcome to The Pleasure Zone. Tonight we're having a fun conversation. So for those of you who have never listened to my show, where have you been? Where have you been the last 5 years and 249 episodes? Where have you been? Check out my podcast. There's so many things to listen to. Last week we talked about spanking and it was awesome. Had lots of great feedback. Actually, it was one of the shows that I had some of the quickest, most interesting feedback on. It was a lot of excited people for spanking, and that was a lot of fun. So one of the offers that I put out on that show, which I had some people take me up on, was the offer of a 30-minute coaching with me for sex and intimacy. So if that's something that you feel you could use a little coaching in the area of sex and intimacy, you know where to find me. Well, if you don't know where to find me, you can find me on milicajelenic.com for now. There's going to be another website coming, but for now you can find me on there. And for now, that's October of 2019, in case you're listening in the future. So you can message me through my website. You can find me on social media, friend me, which is what one of our smart listeners did last week right after the episode. Found me, friended me, sent me a message, and said, congratulations on your certification. I would love to take you up on that offer. And that smart person is actually getting a half-hour session with me. What a genius. I love when people are so smart that they choose something that would be really fun for them. So that offer still stands, and if that's something that you're interested in, definitely contact me. And you can find me through social media if you look up Milica Jelenic as well. I'm the one who does the Pleasure Zone, so you can't really not find me because there are others out there, but let's face it, I'm the pretty most. Well, I don't know if that's true, but I'm pretty much the most out there one of the Milica Jelenics on social media. So you can find me definitely. And so, yeah, that's a lot of fun. So that's something that you can choose if you like. I want to also have a disclaimer for this show, as the title is NEMO, Non-Ejaculatory Multiple Orgasms. The disclaimer is this is not NEMO, the Disney movie or Pixar movie, okay? This is not that. So if you're like, hey, it's the story of Nemo on podcast. Nope, this is not the story of Nemo on podcast. So just an FYI, fair warning. If you're listening and you're like, you bitch, that was not Nemo. That was about men and their penises, and you're just nasty and awful and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, sometimes I get those comments too, which is great because it just means people are listening. And I love it. I love it even when you give me a thumbs down. Hey, you listened enough to know you didn't like it. That's awesome. Good for you. So the other day I was looking through some of the places where my show is posted, and YouTube is one of them, along with 50 live stream locations, along with 50 podcast or more locations included. If you want to find the original source, is the Inspired Choices Network.com, and you can find all kinds of extra links and articles on there as well, which is so fun. And we've always got things going and growing on our network. So that's excellent fun. So you can find me in many different sources. So I was checking out my YouTube shows and looking for some of my stats and numbers out of curiosity. And while I was going through there, I was like, hey, look at that. I've got some thumbs down. I was impressed that on one of my shows I had 30 thumbs up and 4 thumbs down or something. I was like, wow. I felt like really famous for having thumbs down, because that means there's more people listening. Your chances of that are going higher. So I was really stoked, guys, that I had some thumbs down. So I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but if you are creating change on the planet, lots of people are going to start to not like you, and that's cool. And so I just felt really impactful with my thumbs down. So that's my little story of the hour. And I've been kind of internally, personally celebrating all week the certification that I just went through in the last 10 days. So I've been celebrating the certification for the sex and intimacy coaching, which if you're ever looking to really like step into your life and you're like really super afraid of doing something, or you're like, hey, I'd really like to do something, but I'm really kind of afraid of it. This was not something I stumbled across on my own. This is, I have to give like a full credit to my friend, CEO of this network, and amazing. She's actually a holographist coach. She, in about 30 minutes, blew my universe open by having me step into choosing this particular coaching program. Not only did she like mention it and I resisted it and fought her off like a wild beast for like a good, probably of that half an hour that we talked, I probably fought her for 20 minutes. And then I succumbed, and then I cummed, and then she sent me links. Here are some options. I was like, what? She made it so easy to choose. So just saying, it's actually made a huge difference in my life. And as a result, now I'm writing a book. So if you are a parent of children age under 5, so again, this is October 2019, if you're listening in the future, I am writing a book about sex and intimacy for parents. So if you would like to be part of that, I am actually offering for anybody who would like to contribute their stories and their lives and their information to me, I am offering them 3 coaching sessions with me to improve their sex and intimacy in those situations. I'm really curious about how we can collectively gather information, share some ideas, and then get parents back on track from, sometimes your body's adjusting to hormones, and sometimes there's just shit hitting the fan, and sometimes it's just really useful to have some feedback and somebody that can guide you through some of the rougher waves in life. So if you would like to be part of that, definitely contact me. Again, any of the social media platforms, and just say, hey, read your book about parents and sex, and then I'll know to contact you. So definitely use some headings that I'll recognize. Otherwise, I get a lot of messages and I ignore the ones that are vague and strange and seem like you're just trying to marry me, which I appreciate that too, but I get a lot of offers. So thank you for everybody who has offered, and I just need more information for the future. So let's get on with our awesome show. We're talking about non-ejaculatory multiple orgasm. So if you've never even thought that was possible for men, welcome to a whole new universe of the multiple orgasmic male. And there are several books out in the world that are dedicated to the male multiple orgasm. I think there's one actually called the multi-orgasmic male. And there are, videos out there and stuff. There's a reference that I really like because it's a really simple reference that I will give you guys, but I'm going to give it to you after I kind of talk about some things so that you don't just jump over and find the reference information. I will give you the information for something that I think is a really concise, really easy method to be able to become a multi-orgasmic male. And so I will send you guys that information that you can find that. But in the meantime, I'd like to talk about your orgasms, guys. I want to talk about your orgasms, whether you're choosing, women for your lover or men. It's irrelevant. You can be a multi-orgasmic man. You can be a multi-orgasmic man even if you don't have a lover. What? That's right. It has nothing to do with your lover. In fact, sometimes it's easier to become a multi-orgasmic man if you did have a lover? Surprise! Who knew? What an incredible thing. For one thing, let's talk about the real source of orgasms really comes from pretty much our nervous systems and our mind. Like there's something that is an energetic as well, and then there's these biochemical things that get released in us. But ultimately, orgasms start in your brain. They're all about the thoughts usually that you're having, or sensations, or things you're willing to not think about to give you space to be able to allow your being and your body to expand. And there are definitely people in the world who have orgasms that are solely from thought. And I know that there's a woman, she used to live in New York, and I don't know if she still does, who used to teach how to have an orgasm just from your thought. And she had some breathing techniques that would start to alter your biochemistry. And they did brain scans on her while she was having these orgasms. And it was just the same parts of the brain were being activated as if you were having stimulation or copulation, intercourse, or anything like that. The exact same parts of the brain are being stimulated. Pretty mind-boggling, right? Pretty awesome. So if that's true, I'm going with what the research has indicated this far. And to this point, what we know is that there's definitely activity going on in the brain. And so with that, how cool is it that you could probably start to have orgasms in your mind multiply? Now, this is not part of the actual technique, but this is just my thought pattern on if we can have orgasms solely with our mind and our thoughts, how cool would it be to have multiple orgasms going on in our head? So cool. This is where I want to separate for you orgasm from ejaculation or climax. They are very distinctly different. Although for most men, orgasm and ejaculation are
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own
or relatively zone. Like orgasm
on the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. You'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for the Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today from the U.S., call 815-880-TALK. That's 815-880-8255. From Canada, dial 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Or send your questions or comments via email to info@milicajelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Hello, sweet people. How are you, my pleasure seekers? I think I just blew the mind of the internet there with my whole orgasm start in our brain concept, and what if we could have multiple orgasms, and then the whole system just went, what? Yep, I was so excited. Sometimes when I get excited, I just melt technology, so that happens. And so now we're back, and I could just revert all of the stuff just happened, and I can be with you guys, and it's going to be nice. So it's kind of fun to think about how our orgasms start in our brain. And I have had a few shows where I talked about how your thoughts can start to change different things with your orgasms, like you can use them for creating your life, for money inflows, or having very conscious connection to your orgasms. And this is kind of part of that. So, whether you're having fantasies in your mind that have your body become really orgasmic, or whether you're, feeling like maybe there's just a meditation state, or colors that turn you on, or something that's activating some parts of your brain that give you that orgasmic state. It doesn't really matter what it is. Everybody's got probably a different way of bringing that orgasmic energy into their body. And so we can enjoy our brains having that. And for those of you who are being totally skeptical about this, you're there's no way that you can have an orgasm through your thoughts. Well, just think about this for 1 second, is that if you can get yourself into a panic attack, just thinking about something that worries you, and your whole body goes into a state of shock and trauma and fight or flight because of a thought you had, if you can send your body into fight or flight over a thought, guess what? You can also send your body into orgasm with a thought. Oh yeah, there's a challenge. I'll put that challenge out to every single one of you out there. Go have an orgasm with your brain. Turn that shite around that's your fears, and turn that shite around that's keeping you from having a fun, expansive life. And get those thoughts and get them, just flip them around and see what they would do if they were not what they are in your head, and what if they were the opposite. All these things you're worrying about, you're what about the money? What about the this? And then you're oh, surround my body with money. Ooh, tantalizing. Ooh, surround my body with gold coins. That sounds lovely. And I would throw in surround my body with rose petals, because I got a beautiful gift today from one of my sweet friends, and he brought me a dozen red roses that I get to enjoy. It was so lovely, and it was we were just celebrating life, and I got roses. It was so cool. And so I know he's listening, because he's listened to every single one of my episodes ever. So very cool. And thank you for those. I'm publicly saying thank you. And so we can shift these energies in our minds just by choosing something different, some new thoughts. And what would you like to shift your fears into? What would you like to shift those anxieties into? What if you could just switch them with your thoughts? Just choose a new thought, have an orgasm. What? Crazy. But I really want to talk about those multiple orgasms. So remember, orgasms start in your brain. And then what? You have those sexy, sexy thoughts, and then your body's all turned on, feeling pretty darn good. Then what? Right? Then there's a certain breathing that goes on. And this breathing tends to change when your body's excited, when your body's building orgasmic energy. When it's building the energy to climax, it changes again. Sometimes it deepens. It might get, your breathing will likely divert to a different pattern. And what's interesting is everybody has their own pattern. It's pretty neat to think that not every single person's orgasmic pattern on the planet is the same. And that includes you, boys. You do not all have the same orgasmic pattern. What? There are many different patterns. And there are people who have actually looked at this and have brought that information to light, which is so cool. So you can learn about your own patterns. There's actually a fellow, his name is, let me just check that for a second. I know his last name is Maxwell. His first name is Brandon. So Brandon Maxwell. Brandon Maxwell has a site called Climaxwell. So climaxwell.com. And he has created an amazing short video that you can, I don't even think you have to pay for it. It's, as far as I know, it's available online. It's like a teaching instructional video sort of thing. I only found this information in the last day or two. I haven't watched his video yet. I watched an interview with him, which made me really curious about his technique compared to some of the other older ancient versions of male multiple orgasms. So he's really simplified it. He talks about the patterns. He talks about different guys and what they're going through, whether they're premature ejaculators or guys who hold on too long and then get blue balled, or, you know, he talks about all of that, even though blue balls is a whole other interesting concept and topic. And he talks about the different things that guys can do to change these things. So I'm going to be referencing some of his material from the interview that he had. And I totally encourage you guys to go out there and click on his site and find climaxwell.com and see what you think of his video and see what you think of his work. I think it's going to be a great contribution to you. What he's done in his work is he studied things like Tantra, and he studied different techniques, ancient techniques for men to have multiple orgasms. And what he found through his studies was that he felt that a lot of men just find it something that's a little out of their reach. They're like, well, do I really want to sit around for like the next 15 years, become a yoga master, then become a tantric yoga master, then learn how to breathe and suck my energy in all different directions, and then I have to get really present, and who's got the time for that? When I'm turned on, I just want to stick it in real good and have a fun time. And that's where a lot of like immediate pleasure response comes from. I just need to stick it in and get it going. And so not a lot of guys are thinking, I really want to just take the time to not just have a different kind of orgasm, but to have a multiple orgasm. What? And or to have non-ejaculatory multiple orgasms. Like, how many orgasms can a guy have without getting sick in a day? Isn't there a number? Don't they lose all the blood from their head to their, you know, the big C? Like, don't they somehow like get nauseous and fall apart? No. No. It can actually be really, really energizing. So I wanted to mention the brain part first, because I think you got to kind of approach this with what thoughts are going on in your head. And if you've got thoughts that are interfering in your mind while you're trying to go through some of the steps that Brandon Maxwell talks about, those thoughts might interfere to the point where they are not contributing to you having the multiple orgasms. Like if you're having some self-loathing thoughts going on, or if you're having, you know, thoughts about your partner, or if there's like trust issues or something, like if things are coming up, then maybe it's not going to be as successful as it could be. So work on that mind. Heal your mind, whether it's through coaching or whether you're doing it through psychoanalysis or medication, whatever it is. Heal your mind. Get those orgasms clear. And then coming from a place where it's really fun to have orgasms in your mind is really helpful too. So I'm going to now skip ahead, as if you've all gone out and worked wonders on yourselves, healed your wounds, taken care of all of those so-called issues that you've been dragging behind you like a giant pile of poo for like the last 57,000 years. And then you're going to like move forward into having something that's extraordinary in your life. Let me tell you, your penis is going to thank you. Your testicles are going to thank you. If you choose to have a lover, they're just going to be both probably confused and grateful at the same time. And I mention that because male multiple orgasms can be very confusing to the lover who may have never seen them. And they might be like, what? What's happened? Did they just have what? Are they having an orgasm? What? And for some of you out there who end, like it's an end game. Oh, the orgasms occurred. End game. Done. You know, I know there are women and men out there who, when they have sex with men, are, you know, they just go, oh, he ejaculated, we're all done. Or, oh, feels like his, you know, penis did the action of ejaculation, we're all done. But the men can have the action sensation of ejaculation without actually ejaculating. What? I know, it's crazy. So we're clearing the mind, we're getting the body strengthened, we're going to learn how to breathe, and no, we're not going to spend 25 years mastering an art. So what are you going to do, boys? How are you going to have these mind-blowing multiple orgasms? Well, first, if you are not comfortable arousing yourself, that would really help. So I know, guys, there are some of you out there who have even some stuff going on where maybe there's like religious or different beliefs that have been put on you, and you're like, feel like you can't even masturbate. If you have an issue with masturbation or intimacy with yourself, remember the offer that I gave you at the beginning of this call, that you could call me for a half an hour for a free gift? Definitely contact me, okay? And we will get you back on track to enjoying your body, pleasuring yourself, and then you're going to take it a step further. So first, got to know that it's okay to touch yourself, okay? And then we're going to move on from there. So I realize that sometimes I'm like, I just give the steps, and I realize that some of these steps are actually really big for people. Like the step of even being willing to masturbate to begin with can be a really big step. And then the willingness to go the step further, to masturbate to climax, next, and then masturbate to orgasm, space, climax. What? How many times can you do that? So cool. So if you do have a lot of issues that are arising, even as I'm talking about this, you're like, I don't even know if I can touch myself. I don't even know how I could pull off having multiples. What if my partner thinks I'm crazy? What if they look at my face and I look weird? And maybe he's got all that shit coming up. It's maybe a good time to, again, give me a shout. Let's work this out. That's going to be my new slogan. Give me a shout. Let's work this out. Woo! I think that's my new slogan. So I'm just so excited for everybody who is listening, who is willing to have this experience of multiple orgasms, right? So first, be okay with touching yourself. Next, these are actually the points. These next points are actually points from Brandon Maxwell. So the ones I gave you about the mind and about being okay with touching yourself, they are not Brandon Maxwell. They are me. And then some of these other points are from him, who studied, and I do value his information. I think it's pretty interesting stuff. So his other key point is, for guys out there, become aware of your arousal level and pattern. What an interesting concept, right? How many times are any of us aware of our arousal level and pattern? For some people, for me, for example, like I know my arousal level, but I recently found out my arousal level has shifted and been able to morph a bit. But the arousal level for me is like it can sometimes, for the most part, it's like it builds, and then there's a little delay, and then it builds, and there's a little delay, and then it builds again, and there's a little delay. And then finally there's almost like a point where you, for me, I feel like I'm exploding out of my body. So everybody's experience is different. So becoming aware of your pattern, guys and girls, becoming aware of your pattern for your orgasm is really key in being able to have multiples, because then you have a sense of where am I at on a scale of 0 to 10. And the idea behind that is when you can become aware of your arousal level is that when you feel like you're hitting that like 8 level, you can change the pattern so that you start to slow things down, or you change the rhythm so it changes something just a little bit so that you can build that up again. Doesn't sound fun. I hope some of you are like going for the lesson while we're doing this. I hope hands are down the pants. Like, I hope you guys are enjoying this. So, again, holding your body, stroking. Guys, you're going to stroke your penis. And why are you doing this by yourself first? Well, you're going to build up awareness, and doing it on your own first makes it a heck of a lot easier to be able to sustain it with a partner whose pheromones are interacting with you, whose body might be turning you on like crazy by looking at them and having that full-on stimulation happening. So practicing on your own is really important if you want to become a non-ejaculatory, multiple orgasmic male. That would be actually NEMO. So becoming aware of your pattern. And so what does that look like for you? You know, what is your pattern of arousal? What are some of the things that come up? And, you know, I think, too, some of the pattern stuff, and I don't know that Brandon Maxwell talks about this, there are patterns that are physiological patterns, and then there might also be patterns that are fantasy patterns, where you're like, okay, well, it starts off really, like, lovely, and there's, like, a whatever's going on, and then I got to get to the point where, you know, I see the person coming, and then I can come too. Maybe that's your arousal pattern, or maybe your arousal pattern is to have them not be able to come turns you on more. So knowing that, and knowing, again, being clear in your head and knowing what turns you on is really, really helpful. So that's a pretty, I think it's going to be a pretty fun thing for you guys to start to become aware of. And that's only tip one. That's just the tip of our penis iceberg that we're going to dive more into. First, we're going to head to our next commercial break. So you're listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for the Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Interested in masturbating for money, copulating for consciousness, and pleasuring on purpose? 21 Days of Sexual Magicism with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic is an exploration of tools, processes, and actions that you can use to create more for your life, your body, your money inflows, and so much more. Graduated learning for all levels of interest. Learn at your own pace via video classes or join the yearly live class. Take a peek at www.milicajelenic.com.
This is the Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today from the U.S., call 815-880-TALK. That's 815-880-8255. From Canada, dial 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Or send your questions or comments via email to info@milicajelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Hello, sweet pleasure seekers. Welcome back to the Pleasure Zone. For those of you who are listening and you're thinking, oh, I really wish my lover would listen to this episode, by all means, pass it over. Pass it over, pass it on. And then they can also check out Brandon Maxwell's work as well. one of the reasons he actually had created his video to begin with was that he found that, for one thing, a lot of the books that are out there, like the multi-orgasmic male, is more like a self-help book. And in his evaluation, most of the guys he knew were not interested in reading self-help books. And from what he found out there when he was researching was that he didn't really find a lot of videos out there that were concise, instructional, that could be enjoyed by both men and women, that he found that it was something that was usually more pornographic in a way, and he wanted his to be truly like instructional. So he created this just to make life easier for all the guys out there. So that's why I'm telling you, boys, go find Climax Well. I think you're going to enjoy his work. So my step one is clear the crap out of your head. Be okay with touching yourself as if you're touching yourself in public all the time and you have hordes of people just admiring your beautiful C, the big C. They're just loving it because it's beautiful. So just like enjoy it like you mean it. And then becoming aware of your arousal level and pattern. That's Brendan Maxwell's work. So when you become aware of your arousal level and pattern, and he talks about in his video the different kinds of patterns and how to know your pattern. So definitely use his work to check that out for you, so that I don't have to like explain every single one of them in the next, I think, 17 minutes, which I don't have the time to explain them right now. So the next step, so you're going to know your pattern and identify with what your pattern might be. And then you're going to expand your arousal level. You're going to expand it from maybe the arousal level is almost instant, like orgasm, ejaculation, like that fast. Like, whoop, and then it explodes. And so if you're in that kind of zone where it's like, build, volcanic eruption, then you're going to want to take a breath and just slow down for 1 second and have the build, and just slow down for a sec and then stimulate again so that orgasmic energy gets to expand for even 1 second. And then you learn to do different other techniques like breathing in, breathe deep. Slow down, even slow down your hip action. Change the rhythm just slightly. Allow yourself, if you have awareness of energy, I would say at this point, expand your energy so that you can receive even more from your orgasm. And that's my words, not Brandon's, but expand your energy. How do you do that? You literally just ask it to expand out. You're like, okay, expand out, receive. Wow! And your body will know whether, you've ever done that before or not. If you just say, okay, energy, body, energy of my body, like expand, like it'll know. It'll just do it, and your body will start to receive more and more, and that timing between orgasm and ejaculation will expand more as well. It'll extend. It could even get up to like 5 or 10 seconds. Then the challenge is to do that and not ejaculate again. So your first time is to have it where you are having your body so that it can get to the level where it's got that 1 second pause, then that 5 second pause, and then you have your first orgasm that has a gap between ejaculation and between orgasm and ejaculation. So you want to be able to get one of those in, and then you can practice. Isn't this great? I'm giving you guys awesome homework. I'm basically saying masturbate it out because it's going to be so fun. Then you're going to go for it to get to the second one where you're going to go same. You're going to watch those patterns, watch the pattern, and then you're going to adjust, breathe, extend the space, bring that energy back up so that the arousal level is up high again, and then extend the space again. And then you've gone for two orgasmic buildups, then ejaculation. Awesome. Then you're on your way, boys. You could actually get up to like 5 or more. Who knows? I think it's an endless story. Maybe you could just be there all day long, build up, build up, build up. I wonder how long the longest or how many the most multiple orgasms for a man is. I did not check that out in the Guinness Book of World Records, but I wonder if there is a record for that. There could be. There should be. And if there is a competition for it, why have I not been invited? That is something I should be at, to be monitoring. So what are some of the techniques, right? You're probably going, well, that's all great. So whatever, I extend the space between how do I do that, right? So for different guys, it's going to be different methods. So some of them is the slowing down technique, especially if you're a kind of guy who tends to be premature ejaculator. And premature ejaculation is kind of like where, guys, you're going for penetration of mouth or of any orifice whatsoever, or even, penis on body, and ejaculation occurs. Like sometimes the premature ejaculation is just about when everything starts, and you're like, what, it's over? How did that happen? So that can occur, and that can occur definitely for young guys who are very excited and super highly stimulated. If you're like a guy and you're like 18 or, just kind of getting your penis wet there in the world, or, your tongue all slapped up with all kinds of love juices, whatever. If you're like really new to this game, there are some things you can do to just learn even how to hold back on ejaculating, period, and then learning how to extend that space. So sometimes even it's just learning how to stimulate your partner really well. So if you're, wanting guys, if you are in a heterosexual relationship and you don't want to have premature ejaculation, stimulate your partner, stimulate their nipples, lick them, love them, stimulate their clitoris and their vagina, have fun, spank their bum. If you never tried it, listen to my episode from last week. Definitely ask for permission before you do it. But have some fun, have some build up, so that you're not just like raw panicky, and then just like, it's almost like a fright system, like the fight or flight. I think there's also a fright in there, and the fight or flight can even occur with ejaculation. It's like there can be so much excitement and anxiety and fear of, oh my God, how am I going to perform? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Oh, is this going to happen? Is this really happening? And they just like let it off. So that's why I say take care of your mind first. Get all that garbage, that's just stinking garbage, out of your brain, so that you can chillax, enjoy your body, and be present. Okay, so now we're knowing arousal levels, and we're knowing all of these things. And I want to give you some exercises for strengthening, because these are some exercises that you can easily do so that you can learn how to control your pelvic floor muscles, okay? So one of the things to do to practice is, if you've never had, guys, you can do Kegel exercises just like the women. It's just a pelvic floor squeeze. And the one way, if you've never done it in your life, is to start peeing. Just start peeing into the toilet and then stop your pee. Hold for like a second and let it go. That will give you the initial awareness of what it's like to squeeze your pelvic floor muscle. So once you've done that, like once you've done the pee method, peeing in the toilet, holding, you don't like ever really have to do that again. It's not necessary. It just gives you a sense of where that is and what to do to get that to squeeze. That same method of squeezing can actually allow you to hold back on having an orgasm as well. So it'll strengthen your response time. And it just has you kind of squeeze hold. You can, if that doesn't really work for you, you can actually do a squeeze method yourself. And for some men, they need to squeeze sort of the tip, just at the end of your penis. You can squeeze the actual tip, or you can squeeze just near the head, where it's actually called like the frenulum area. It's right under the coronum. And if you don't know what corona of the penis, which is where the head is, it's like where it looks like a helmet. that little area around there, if you can just get into that area and like give a little squeeze, it will actually get you to be able to prevent your orgasm from happening so fast. It's one way to slow things down. So even when you're doing your own method for masturbation or something, and you might be a dry hand masturbator who just like, whoa, 3 seconds and I'm done. By all means, you can do that if you're like super stressed and just need to relieve yourself, or you're afraid that, people are going to come in and see you, or whatever's going on in your head that you think you have to do it fast, go ahead. But if you can manage to wait just a little bit and enjoy that, and just either pinching the tip, and I'm not saying like a pinch where it would be like when you're a kid and you pinch somebody's leg or something to tease them, or I'm saying like grab your thumb and your forefinger and you just kind of hold, pinch, and like, I wish I had a video on that. It would be great. So you're just going to play around with it. I think you're going to get it. So squeezing the tip and then squeezing just under the ridge. Those are two great ways to have that sort of slow down just enough so that you can build the energy up again. So that's the whole fun, is it gets to that number 8 on your arousal level, and then you hold and you breathe and you start to receive more, and you start to like really feel and sense, and you get to become so aware of your arousal that when you do finally ejaculate, it's going to blow your effing mind. So I'm going to give you a few more tips and tools on how to slow it down and how to get things to become a little more fun, how to kind of ensure that you're going to be able to have these male multiple orgasms. And I think it's going to be great. So we've got a few more minutes left. First, we're going to head to our last commercial break. You are listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for The Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Interested in masturbating for money, copulating for consciousness, and pleasuring on purpose? 21 Days of Sexual Magicism with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic is an exploration of tools, processes, and actions that you can use to create more for your life, your body, your money inflows, and so much more. Graduated learning for all levels of interest. Learn at your own pace via video classes or join the yearly live class. Take a peek at www.milicajelenic.com.
This is The Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today from the U.S., call 815-880-TALK. That's 815-880-8255. From Canada, dial 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Or send your questions or comments via email to info@MilicaJelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Hello, sweet pleasure seekers. Welcome back to the Pleasure Zone. Tonight we're talking about non-ejaculatory multiple orgasms for men. How fun is that? Sometimes called NEMO, not the same as the Pixar Disney movie. Just saying. So, last we spoke, I mentioned the pinch method, whereby if you're masturbating or if you're having sex, either way, you can pinch the tip of the penis, or just around the corona, like around the head of the penis. You can kind of squeeze that area. So how do you do that? Well, if you're having penetration, you kind of need to pull out enough to do that. Hold, and then that'll stop you from ejaculating. And even take a deep breath and just like breathe in and like be with it for a second, and then go back in for more. Go back in for greater, and just have more and more fun with it. I have to say that the first time I had a lover who did that, who did the pull out and then pinch the penis, I thought I had hurt him, so I didn't know what his target was. And I don't actually even know if he knew what his target was. I have yet to ask him. So, but it is an interesting thing that I was like fascinated by it, and then I realized that it was actually incredibly pleasurable. So that was kind of cool. So I'm mentioning that because if you've ever seen somebody do something like that, and you're like, what? What's happening? That's what's happening, ladies and gentlemen, is the man is trying to slow down the pace and get himself in the groove so that he can have more orgasmic energy and sensations and feelings going on. He's probably onto something, and he might have figured that out on his very own. So another thing that can slow down arousal or ejaculation is lots of lubrication. So if you are masturbating and you find that you're a dry masturbator and then it doesn't take you very long, like a couple minutes to get off, it's, the friction is definitely helpful to go faster. However, sometimes adding some lube will slow things down a bit. So just know because for some guys the lubrication is out of this world arousing, and lubrication will just make it go really, really fast. And then having more friction will slow it down. So you just got to know you got to know your arousal level and your sort of the way that you respond. So that's one thing, though. You can add some lubrication. If you are a premature ejaculator, really, like, adding lubrication is great for that. And quieting your mind and just having like a quiet space with not a lot of sort of even moaning, right? Like sometimes moaning can even be something that creates so much arousal that it'll have a man's body respond to want to ejaculate. So if you'd like to help him along, start moaning and groaning and having all kinds of fun. And if you don't want to help him along, I dare you to be quiet and see what happens. See if he can sustain it. See if he can prolong things. See how much fun you can have with that. And then, for women, when you actually do start to have sex with this, but this really is about you guys learning how to do this on your own at first, because when you do start to have sex, there are things that as a woman you can do as well that can assist having the multiple orgasms as well. And there are things that you can do physically when you are having sex that can assist with that. I highly encourage you, though, to watch climaxwell.com. Go there and find his video, because his instructional video will be really easy to understand because you're going to get to see it. Especially when it comes to the intercourse part. The other parts that I'm talking about are things that you can do. You don't have to watch this video to do that. It's something that you can be doing on your own. So remembering to slow down, have lots of lube, enjoy yourself because you're lovable. And maybe it's really fun for you to have lots of orgasms, because maybe it is. So I don't actually know what my show is going to be next week, because it's going to be my 250th episode, I think, and I'm going to see if I can get some wild and amazing guests on to talk with me. So we'll find out what's going to happen then. But until then, stay tuned in and totally turned on, and have a great week.
Thank you for listening to The Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. The Pleasure Zone returns next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by choosing to be turned on and tuned in to your body.